Welcome to Day 73 on the Trail. We have 4 readings for today, from Acts 20 verses 1 through 16, Leviticus 9 verses 1 through 24, the 76th Psalm, and Proverbs 9 verse 1 through chapter 12 verse 1. Proverbs chapter 10 through chapter 22 verse 16 seems to form a loose collection of sorts. However, attempts to further organize this collection into more discrete components by scholars has been difficult. For example, this collection of Proverbs opens with a heading which clearly indicates the beginning of a new section. Then, in Proverbs 22:17, we are introduced to a different style, indicating the start of a new section. Another interesting element of this section is the numerical value of Solomon's name found in Proverbs chapter 10 verse 1. If you add together the numerical value of the Hebrew letters in Solomon's name, it adds up to 375. That is, 300 plus 30 plus 40 plus 5. This is also the number of proverbs contained in the collection found in chapters 10 through 22. Most of the proverbs in this section demonstrate emphatic parallelism. This is a literary device commonly used in Hebrew poetry, which involves structuring 2 or more lines where the second line presents a contrast or opposition to the idea in the first line. For example, we will see a contrast between righteousness and wickedness highlighted repeatedly throughout this section. While we do not have time to reflect on all of these proverbs, a few of them contain striking, powerful, and even creative imagery. For example, Proverbs 10:10 says, "Whoever winks the eye causes trouble, but the one who rebukes boldly makes peace." Or Proverbs 10:26, "Like vinegar to the teeth and smoke to the eyes, so are the lazy to their employers." And sometimes, these proverbs are a timely reminder, especially given the age of social media. So Proverbs 11:2 says, "When pride comes, then comes disgrace, but wisdom is with the humble." Or verse 12, "Whoever belittles another lacks sense, but an intelligent person remains silent." Or Proverbs 12 verse 1, "Whoever loves discipline loves knowledge, but those who hate to be rebuked are stupid." So I would encourage you to identify and even commit to memory a few of these proverbs that resonate with you. After leaving Ephesus, Paul and his companions traveled to Troas. On a particular Sunday, the first day of the week, Paul gathered with the disciples to break bread, which seems to be a reference to the celebration of communion, or the Lord's Supper. That day, and late into the evening, Paul delivers an extended lecture, during which a young man named Eutychus falls asleep. Perhaps Paul's mention of the light provided by the many lamps could have a few different interpretations. First, that despite the bright lights, Eutychus fell asleep due to the length of Paul's extended message. Second, the excessive number of lamps may have resulted in a clouded atmosphere in the room that induced dizziness or sleep. Third, the light was symbolic of Paul's wisdom and the faithfulness of the gathered church. Now, after falling asleep, Eutychus also fell from a third-story window to his death. Some have suggested that Eutychus was only injured. However, verse 9 is clear that unfortunately Eutychus died in the fall. Therefore, Paul, through the power of God, actually raises Eutychus from the dead. Resurrection from the dead by an apostle is also seen in Acts 9, when Peter raises Tabitha. And this is, of course, connected to the miracles of Jesus in Luke 7 and 8, where Jesus raises the widow's son at Nain and Jairus' daughter. After Eutychus is raised, the community returns to celebrate communion through the breaking of bread, and Paul continued to teach. While it is not explicitly stated, it seems that the resurrection of Eutychus highlights the real, active presence of Jesus in the midst of the church, a community who breaks bread together and shares in the teachings and ministry of Jesus. Thank you for joining us today. Until next time, stay on the trail.